Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is Sweet Stuff Saturday, and today I'm going to talk about knife sheaths. And knife sheaths are one of the more interesting parts of designing fixed blades, because while knife sheaths are simple and they have simple materials, they are not easy to make on a production scale. And the reason for that is it requires fitting the sheath to the individual knife, not designing a knife sheath for a whole unit. You can do that, but there are some risks in doing that. And so what you see before you are a couple of knife sheaths. I actually have two more to the side, but this is, so from left to right, we're going to go, this is the sheath for the Bussey Forsaken Steelheart. This is the sheath and the knife, the Essie 4HM. This is the Tom Crine TK2 Whitetail. This is the Becker K-Bar BK16. And this is the Survive Knives GSO 4.5. So all of these have different features, and all of these have different sheaths, and I want to go through and talk about what makes a good sheath and what makes a bad sheath. And I also want to point out which one is the best sheath. So let's talk about this going from most basic. So this sheath is the worst sheath, and this sheath is the sheath I made, and it rattles just, well, not a ton. If you push it all the way in, it won't rattle, but it requires an enormous amount of force to get the knife out. And one of the reasons why is because it's the first sheath I've ever made and it wasn't super great. The other reason is I used extra thick kydex. You can see here that I used relatively thick kydex. So I think this is like 3/16 kydex, and this is a 1/8 inch kydex, or something to that effect. There are typically two stock thicknesses of kydex. The thicker the kydex, the more difficult it is to mold, and the less precise the mold is going to be. And so you can see here what I tried to do was I tried to use this pivot screw and the little guard here as the catch point for the sheath, so that if you inserted the sheath correctly, or if you inserted the knife correctly, the sheath actually is only going to touch this point and this point right here. So when I made this sheath, I made the kydex press. What I did is I put blue tape on the knife handle. I put about 8 or 10 layers of blue tape. So it was actually substantially thicker. It was probably, you know, like that. And that gave the knife a bit of clearance in the sheath, so that the only thing that's actually touching is this point right here. And you can see that's a lot of force to get the knife in and out. I did put a little thumb flare here so I can have a little assistance to pull it out, and it works. The sheath definitely works. It's just a little stiffer than I wanted to, and it looks a little amateurish. The other thing is I put a drain hole here, and as you can see, the drain hole did not come out perfectly straight. It works, but it drives me nuts. So that's this sheath. It does not have any holes. I can easily add holes. If I wanted to put a tech lock on here, it would not be difficult at all. I just haven't done it because the way that I use this knife doesn't require me to do that. I basically use it around the shop and around the yard, and it just takes a beating. As you can tell, I also stripped the coating off, and it's been fine. I mean, it takes marks, but it took marks when I had the coating on. And, you know, I keep it relatively clean and relatively sharp, so I don't really have to worry about rust. I'm paying attention to that. It's something I'm actively thinking about all the time. By the way, I should have said this is just kydex sheaths. Leather sheaths and nylon sheaths are an entirely different thing. I don't have a nice enough leather sheath to warrant a video, and I hate nylon sheaths, so that's it. The next one that I have is a pretty standard sheath from Essie. First of all, you can tell that there are really two kinds of designs. You can have what are called pancake style sheaths, and this is a pancake style sheath, or you can have what's called a taco style sheath. And so there are two different construction methods, and I'll get to this in a second, and I'll tell you why this is driving me crazy. The two different construction methods are pancake and taco. And so what a pancake is you take two pieces of kydex and you marry them together. So you can see here that this piece of kydex and this bottom piece of kydex are different, and they're bolted in together. You can also see that this knife has a taco style sheath. So what happened here is I took one sheet of kydex and I bent it up and then pressed it, put it in the kydex press, and put these two Chicago screws here to hold it all together. And there are advantages and disadvantages of both designs. The big advantage of a taco style sheath is you can get the sheath significantly smaller because this top portion rides right on the spine. You don't have to worry about making it extra thick. Now, the advantage of the pancake style sheath is that you can really dial in the kydex grip up at the top. So that's one of the reasons why this is a little sloppier than this one. We'll get to this one in a second. But I generally prefer the taco style sheaths because they are smaller. Now, this is a taco style sheath. You can see that it's just bent at the top. But for whatever reason, Essie put bolts across the top and made the sheath much wider than it needed to be. You could make a sheath like this wide on this knife and have it work fine. Essie did it this way. It's fine. It works. Their drain hole is perfectly straight. Again, this is something that just drives me absolutely bananas. But I find this sheath to be a lot bigger than it needs to be. It also uses that very thick kydex, the kydex that I use on this other knife. It's just too thick. It does make getting it in and out harder than it should be. It's better than my sheath by a long shot, but it's not as good as the best sheath. The other thing is the retention here is not exactly snappy like I would want it to be. It's good, but as you can see, it doesn't have that crisp snap to it. That tells you that the knife is really locked in there. This sheath, of course, does not rattle, and if you have a sheath that rattles, that's no good. But extracting it, getting it in and out is not as easy as it should be. In fact, it's not substantially easier than this knife and that sheath, which is made by me, and it was kind of crappy. This knife is the GSO, and it has an amazing sheath. A couple little points about the clip here. This is all just molded kydex, so they didn't have to go through the trouble of getting like a clip plate like this, or a tech lock like this, or a tech lock like this. As you can see, these both have tech locks. Really, really great way to connect your knife to your belt, but it's an expensive part. It's an add-on, and the GSO solution is pretty much just as good, provided you want to carry it vertically, as the tech lock, and it's all in-house made with, you know, no additional parts. It's really quite good. It definitely locks on the belt, and I like this way of connecting the knife. It does require, as you can see, a bunch of molding. So maybe that's a labor versus parts kind of thing, where it's less money but more labor. So the nice part about this sheath, it has the drain hole, of course. This is also a taco style sheath with the additional material over the top, but it really locks in. You can hear it. Ready? That is a crisp snap. That tells you not only audibly, but tactily that your knife is in the sheath. I can take this knife in and out of the sheath one-handed, no problem, and it just locks into place. This is a fantastic and well-made sheath. This is a fantastic and well-made knife. I know that Survive knives are controversial. I'm not going to get into the controversy. I just wanted to say, if you have one, they are fantastic. These are among the best fixed blades on the market, and in some part because they have excellent kydex sheaths. I mean, you're just not going to find snap better than that. So really, really good sheath, still a little bigger than you need to. And by the way, I'll show you how they could they could keep the sheath attachment, and they could get rid of this top row of bolts if they did what Tom Crine did on this sheath. Again, this is the Tom Crine TK2 Whitetail. He only has 2 attachment points, and you would say, oh, well, that might, you get like almost no vertical or almost no movement on the other side, even though there's nothing connecting it. This sheath with this tech lock works really well. And what they could have done is they could have eliminated this top row and put the 2 holes here and have the tech lock attached that way. And then you can get the size of the pancake sheath, or size of the taco sheath, with the the tech lock still on it. Okay, this is definitely the best sheath on a knife I have, and the reasons are pretty simple. The knife slides in and out. There is a snap. It's not as loud as this one because it's not as big, but the snap is just as crisp. It's every single time. Tom does a really good job of basically fusing the edges. I mean, the edges are really nice, and they're definitely sanded. I sanded the edges of mine. And you can see here, like, there's a little split there, but everything else is pretty much sealed. There's no drain hole on this knife. I've never had that be an issue. But the fit and finish and the way that it really does sort of force your hands down to here. The shape of this mouth of the sheath forces your hands down to here, which puts you at the pinch point in the handle. So it's easy to get this knife in and out. Love the sheath on the TK2 Whitetail. I actually love this knife. This is one of my very favorite knives, and looking at this and handling this is one of the reasons why I decided to make this video. The last sheath that I have is definitely my most expensive. It's my most expensive fixed blade. It's one of my most expensive knives. This knife, of course, because it's a bussy, doesn't come with a sheath. But this is a taco or a pancake style sheath. It does exactly what I say about attaching on one side. There's really no issue there. It's not enough to cause a problem at all. It has no drain hole. It did do the tape thing so this doesn't actually touch the knife blade. And it has the thumb flare like I have on mine. And this knife just snaps right out. I mean, this knife is insane, by the way. But listen to this. I mean, it just... Even though it's nice and easy to get out, the knife doesn't rattle and it won't fall out. So really great knife. Really great sheath. This is probably the best designed of the sheaths, but I like the way that the Crine fits. Maybe it's because I like the knife a little bit better, but it has all the things that I want. It has the taco style instead of pancake. It has the tech lock. It has easy in and easy out. It has this little thumb flare here, and it has that really nice crisp snap to it that tells you that your knife is in the sheath, which is a really important thing. Oftentimes when I'm using a fixed blade, I don't want to have to stop and put the knife in the sheath and use both hands. I just want to hear that snap and then know that I'm good to go. So this is a little overview of kydex sheaths. I hope you liked it. Keep watching.